I can call on people so we don't step on each other's toes and know whose turn it is. Sonia, would you mind introducing yourself?
Sure. My name is Sonia Bingaman, and I'm the regional manager for the Sacramento region, the same counties that Alta Regional Center covers for the State Council on Developmental Disabilities. And we collaborate with Alta on the Self-Determination Advisory Committee. We each appoint half of the members to that committee and collaborate on a lot of other issues, as well as the implementation of self-determination. So glad to be here.
Thanks, Sonia. Carmen, would you introduce yourself? And you're muted.
I'm muted. My name is Carmen Delgado, and I'm a parent. My daughter Maria is in the self-determination program, and it has been 1 year. So we have a little bit of experience behind us. I'm glad to be here. Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us, Carmen. Cindy?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cindy, and I am the Client Employment Specialist at Alta Regional Center. I am also a certified person-centered thinking trainer.
Yeah, and she'll be talking to us today as a subject matter expert on our today's topic. Jennifer, could you introduce yourself?
Yes, hi. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. My name is Jennifer Bloom. I'm one of 3 Associate Directors of Client Services at Alta, and I oversee the Early Start program, ages 0 to 3, and children's units, ages 3 to 18.
Thank you, Jennifer. And just sort of continuing in the progression and order that images are appearing on my screen, Sharon.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sharon Wiggins, and I am the Client Services Manager for our South Lake Tahoe and Placerville offices of Alta California Regional Center.
Thanks, great to have you. Kadada, could you introduce yourself? And as sort of one of our participants, everyone else was sort of affiliated with the regional center or a support organization. Carmen, being a parent, has also been invited to be a speaker. So this is where we're getting into the audience members of today's event. So we'd love to hear what you want to know, what you want to hear, so we can try to accommodate that.
And Herman, I'm gonna keep track of the questions. I'll write them down so that we can be sure that we cover everything.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kidada Medina, and I am the parent of a 4-year-old regional center client.
And Kadada, any questions or anything that you'd like to have answered today, or any, just anything you'd like to learn, or what brought you here today?
Just more information. I'm just gathering everything, and sometimes someone else has a question that I didn't think of. So
yes.
Just general knowledge right now. I will interject if something comes up, or I'll put it in the chat, if that's okay.
Good, thank you. That's wonderful. And I'm glad you said that you could learn from other people's questions, because we want to encourage everyone to ask questions, and we can all learn from each other. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And next up, we have Bethany.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bethany Timby. I am here with my daughter, Gina Bolino, who's the president of the Sacramento chapter People's First organization. She's very involved, and I'm also a service coordinator, so I'm excited to learn more about the rollout of SDP with Alta, so I can help advocate for my daughter and for my clients on my caseload.
Very good. Susan, can we have you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. So I'm Susan Halden. I am the parent of a 19-year-old Alta consumer. And, I'm just learning more. I mean, I've been through the orientation. I've been through several trainings about self-determination. I am on the fence as to whether or not to go forward. I mean, I have several questions still. And part of it is, I think, because we're in transition. So going from school to the adult system of care, I don't even think we know of all the services that are possible, and therefore, how to go about. And then I think a big thing for me is understanding how an independent facilitator could help us with staffing, for example, because that's one of my, I mean, I'm relatively a business person, but to think of finding people and staffing and some of those things, I know about the financial management service, but so lots of questions. Sorry to take up so much time.
No, that's great to lay out what you want to know. And Jawan, did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, my name is Jaewon, parents of autism and teenager. Yeah, and I need a SDP program for more information and for advocate my son. Yeah, and now I'm just prepared all the training. Yeah, the person-centered thinking, not planning training, and also the self-determination orientation ongoing. Yes, so I am ready to do the self-determination program. Thank you for inviting me.
All right, good to hear. And more than a few of you mentioned the orientation, which is probably another just good point to cover, that there was a request that for participation in today's event, which is sort of a deeper dive and maybe more personalized, individualized question and answer, that everyone would have sort of the basic overview introduction that's available on our learning management system. Did anybody have any problem accessing that, or was everybody successfully able to get in and view that hour, 20 hour, 30-minute presentation? I'm seeing heads nodding yes, and no one's unmuting saying they had difficulty, and a thumbs up from Bethany. That's great. And Kadada is shaking her head on camera. All right. That's good to hear. We're excited about using that platform for other resources. Yeah, Susan.
I do have a quick question. So, but is that the orientation that is required before the self-determination program? Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So we're ready to go if we decide to go that way.
That's right. Yeah.
I would just like to point out that I'm super excited. I've recently learned of that website, and there's additional classes on it, and I was excited to see that. So I'll be diving into some more of those classes, courses, webinars.
We'll be trying to continue to add to it, and if you have requests for things that you think would be valuable, unrelated to SDP, we'll take those suggestions. So this morning we launched with sort of an introduction of person-centered planning, person-centered thinking, and Cindy, who introduced herself as a regional center employee who's certified as a trainer in person-centered thinking, provided sort of an overview of the benefits that philosophy brings to developing plans, as well as some tools that can be used to enhance that process. So if we don't have any burning questions or concerns to sort of tailor information towards, we could launch into our first topic for the evening, person-centered planning. And Cindy, you're on mute.
Yes, it actually popped up a message telling me that I need to unmute myself. So, I like to start out by asking people, have any of you done a person-centered plan or have heard about person-centered thinking or planning? Anyone from the audience? Yeah, I think Jennifer, you're nodding your head. Kadada, you've heard of it? Okay. And then some of you have not. Susan, yes. Okay. Well,
Heard of it, but haven't done it.
Oh, you haven't done it. Okay. Well, let me start out by saying that it is not a requirement in order for you to participate in self-determination program. And what I really like about the person-centered plan is that, it helps you to sort out what's important to and for the person as we gain deeper understanding of the person while working towards a good balance. It helps to inform our actions in partnership with the person that we support, as well as those who support them. There are 12 different tools that we can use to learn about someone. Some examples would be the 2-minute drill, the relationship map, sorting out what's working and not working. And what's nice about it is that it helps us to identify what works and what doesn't work for the person and how changes can be made. You know, it is a working document, so, you know, we can always make changes to it and we can always utilize different tools. So we don't have to stick to the same tool to help us gather information about the person. It helps to identify who's in their circle of support and the roles that they play. Believe it or not, you know, I have participated in a few person-centered plans where the client is like, I'm not naming my dad as a person where you can gather information about me from because I haven't had contact with my dad in a very long time. However, I have a friend whom I interact with, I engage with, I have a relationship with, who knows everything about me. So, you know, it's going to help to, you know, answer some of those questions about, you know, who's in this person's circle of support? What roles do they play? And, you know, who can you reach out to when you need to gather information about this person? What's also nice about it too is that it helps to, once you gather information about the particular person, what makes them quirk, you know, what makes it a good day or a bad day for them, it kind of helps you frame, you know, if, for example, someone is interested in looking for a person to help support them. Based on the information that you gather about the person that needs support, you can actually create like a help wanted poster or some information that you can share with the community about this person. And, you know, you can include information on there such as, if you exhibit these characteristics, or if you have these interests about you, this is the person that is looking for you. So, you know, it helps to identify a good match for the person. My most interesting tool to use is a communication log, because, you know, it's like an ongoing communication log that, you know, you can put down information about, you know, how they communicate, in what ways, you know, do they communicate best. And then it also helps identify, you know, what changes can be made to the person to help them, you know, create better plans and also help them reach their goals. One of the good things about the communication too is that sometimes we tend to view the negative behavior as a bad behavior. But in fact, a negative behavior or a behavior in general can mean that the person is trying to communicate something to us, you know, but they just have a different way of communicating that, what they want to us. You know, you can create all of this. You can use all the tools that helps to identify what's important to and for the person and put it on a one-page description. If you haven't seen the one-page description yet, we're going to be putting some templates on our website, as well as the person-centered thinking plan on our website, some useful tools for you to look at and for you to start utilizing. What's nice about the one-page description is that it can be shared with anyone. You know, it's, you know, just a quick glance of information about this person, what's important to them, what's important for them, and also, you know, how they communicate best, what makes it a good day for them, what makes it a bad day for them. So just based on that information, you can share that if the person is starting a new job, you can create it based on how they would they be best supported in an employment setting. If they are starting a day program, that would also be catered to that environment. So it can be catered to any environment, and anyone can complete a one-page description. I myself have completed several one-page descriptions about myself, and I continue to update the one-page description as I work in different capacities and as I work with different people. You know, it's just a quick way for me to introduce who I am either as an employee, as a coworker, or as a friend. So you yourself can also complete something like this for you. But just imagine how helpful it would be, for you to, like when you're sending a referral packet, to include this information in the referral packet to the day program or supported employment program, for them to have a quick glance about the person that they are considering to participate in their program. What's also nice about the person-centered plan too, I'm sorry, Jennifer, did you have a question?
Well, Cindy, I just wanted to, I think there's a question in the chat that I think is timely, so I wanted to bring it to your attention.
Sure.
Jaywon asks about the difference between a person-centered plan versus person-centered thinking. And I know that those terms are used interchangeably a lot, and so just wanted to see if you could speak to that real quick.
Sure. So thinking is the way that we think, right? And the plan is how we put the thinking into a plan. So it's going to lay out all the important information about the person, and it's going to be in a report form. So you can have a person-centered plan that is a few pages long, or you can have a person plan that is 15 pages long. It's going to be based on the information that you want to capture about the person and the information that you want to share with the person. But the thinking part is the whole process of going about gathering the information, putting the person at the focus of the plan. So all the information that you're going to be capturing is going to be about the person, the individual, either someone you're supporting, or, if you're doing one for yourself, it would be you. Does that?
So self-determination program for is a requirement, is a person-centered planning, is a training requirement?
So the person-centered thinking training is not a requirement.
How about person-centered planning is a requirement?
So the person-centered planning is a process. For you. Yes, it is a process for you to help identify what's important to the person and what's important for them. By gathering all that information, you're able to create goals specific to the person.
It's like a way of thinking. So it's a mindset, I would say. It's a way of thinking about the person and all the different parts of their life and all of the different things that they enjoy doing, some challenges they may have, what their goals are. So it's really like an in-depth way to ensure that we're thinking about the whole person. And as Cindy said, it's not a requirement to have a person-centered plan in self-determination. But when we're thinking about self-determination, we want to think about the whole person. And that way of thinking in person-centered planning or person-centered thinking is an approach that is really helpful in the process.
So Jaywon, so just for an example, right now, the person, your son or daughter has an individual program plan, correct? So all the goals that are identified on there is based on the interests that is specific to your son and daughter. It's not about you. It's not about the service coordinator. It's not about the person who was there at the meeting, but it's about the individual, about your son or your daughter.
So what is the requirement for the self-determination program? It's the orientation for sure, and what is going to be next?
So the next one, so I'm encouraging you to perhaps have a person plan written for your son or daughter to help you better navigate the services that is most important to and for your son or daughter.
Can I?
Once you get to know, like you really dive into a person's life and what's important to them, what their interests are, what their goals are, then you can better, assist your son or daughter in creating a plan of services, and also who should be helping your son or daughter to achieve those goals. It could be a service provider, it could be a family member, a friend. That's why the relationship map as part of the person plan is very important, because it helps you identify, you know, the people that are in the circle of support.
So Susan asked a question in chat that I think would be better answered live rather than a typed response. And that's, why wouldn't there be a person-centered plan done in the traditional system? And the traditional system has always had built in within the Lanterman Act, the guiding legislation governing service delivery of regional center services, an expectation that the IPP, the individual program plan, is developed with a person-centered approach. So arguably the traditional system has always and will continue to have a person-centered philosophy, a person-centered approach, and the person-centered plan is that IPP. It's just that in the self-determination program, they've put so much emphasis on it that they explore ways where you can create a person-centered plan separate from the IPP, an entirely different document that just looks at the description of the individual, again, the important to, the important for aspects of their life, absent other things that maybe IPPs need to include to be compliant with our funding sources, inclusive of things like that, that tend to stray a little bit from that person-centered philosophy. And the regional center has always had to kind of do that balancing act between our accountability for use of public funds and justifying that so that we can continue to get the resources to deliver to our clients, so we satisfy our auditors, the funding sources that come to examine our records, at the same time trying to maintain that focus on what's important to the person.
So if I may then go a little further, so there is no IPP in self-determination?
There is still an IPP in self-determination. And I think there's a slide in the orientation that captures this, and I can see if I can find it in our own resources of when we were conducting the orientation. But it's a comparison between the traditional service delivery model and self-determination, and it sort of lays out the similarities. And person-centered planning was identified as one of the things that's consistent across both service delivery models. You still have your regional center service coordinator. You still have an IPP. In the traditional service delivery, maybe you do have an FMS, maybe you don't. There are, within the traditional service delivery model, ways to access some services through an FMS that allow the participant or the client to have a little more control in the selection of the worker, kind of sharing sometimes that employer-employee relationship role. In the self-determination program, the FMS is required. So I'm kind of going back now to what Jawan was saying, kind of mapping out what's next. I did my orientation. Well, an FMS agency is a required component for moving forward in self-determination program. So important that we've got our list and a description of FMS agencies on our website, so people can even proactively begin exploring interviewing even potential FMS agencies for when they're eligible for the program. And then the other and the biggest difference is that when you get to the selection of service providers in the self-determination program, you aren't confined to vendors of the regional center. You can establish those relationships and create contracts with whoever you deem appropriate and fits within some of the parameters of the funding requirements for access to service, but you're not restricted to individuals or agencies who have been contracted by the regional center. So that's the big difference that opens up the whole world of opportunity and a little more freedom and flexibility, going back to those principles of the self-determination program.
No, I'd like to, this is Carmen speaking, and just, it may sound a little bit complicated, but it's really easy, this self-determination program plan, because basically what it is just the goals, and you may only have a few goals. I just want to give you an example is that for my daughter Maria, who, and everyone is different, everyone has different abilities, strengths, and challenges. My daughter specifically is cortically blind, and she has CP, autism, seizures, etc. So for her goals, just as one example, is that she wants to do things for herself. She wants to become more independent. And so this is the goal that we wrote. I want to do things by myself. My mother says that I will need to work on my education, homemaker, and living skills so that I could become more independent. So that is her plan. And then under that goal, we wrote, how is she going to do that? She wants to be exposed to new things and new environments. She wants to go to American River College and take a class. She wants to meet new friends. Being autistic is a huge challenge for her because she doesn't know how to socialize. So one of the things is that she invites someone over for an afternoon, one person, because she can't do a lot of people. It's very simple like that. The major chunks of, your son or daughter or person that you're caring for, the consumer, those main things that you want him or her to achieve. And those are the things that make up the person-centered plan. And this, what the other thing of Maria's is that I want a job. Okay, so I had the independent facilitator go out in the community and look for a volunteer job that she could do. And so she works at the food pantry, and and her staff person takes her there because she cannot be left alone. She teaches her where the items are and how to put the food in the bag. But that's, again, that takes her into the community. She's part of the community, doing something good and giving back. And it also increases her independence. So those are the things that, and we only did 4 goals for her, and then put activities that she would like, that she would.
And wash your clothes.
Oh, and wash her clothes, that's right. That she would strive at and be successful. And as things moved and she progressed, then we just change those activities as needed. And you do that yourself.
Carmen, I really like how you identify what was important for your daughter, and then after that, you found a balance. So it was important for her to make friends, but yet, you feel that, because of her autism, she may not be able to go out and find friends herself. And so you invited the one friend, and then realizing that, having multiple people over the house might be a little bit overwhelming for her. So you're starting off by inviting just one person over to the house so that it's not too overwhelming for her. So I really like that. And that is a really nice balance.
And the other thing that I just want to mention is that this self-determination program really gives you flexibility. I moved from Tahoe to Sacramento. And so when I moved here, I had to go and search out all these programs to see the best fit for my daughter. Some of them met her needs. Some of them she wouldn't be able to do because they required more independence than she had the skills and ability to do. Some just wouldn't take her because of her behavior. But I found a program that it didn't give me everything that I thought Maria needed or that Maria wanted to do. Because, she did want to work out in the community. She wanted to do jobs and do things of that nature, exercise. And so that program did not allow for a lot of that. But that's all, that was the best that at that time that was available and met her needs. This program now gives me the flexibility to still let her go into her day program so that she has that socialization contact, that structure, meeting with other people, and allows me also to contract with other people to let her go to hire someone to work with her on her physical fitness, to hire someone to work with her on socialization, to take her to her volunteer programs, to teach her how to do personal hygiene and the other goals that we have set for her. So that's the beauty, that's another beauty of this program. I mean, how many times do you have that opportunity to get that one-on-one for your daughter or son or consumer? And unfortunately for Maria, that's how she learns because of her vision and her attention span. She has to learn, has to have that one-on-one contact. Other individuals may not need it, but you develop whatever works best for you, and for, if you have to run off and go somewhere and you have a neighbor that's great with your child, and you trust them, or a family member, well, you could hire them. What better person do you want taking care of your son or daughter than your family? And so, you have that ability to get on the phone and call your sister or your nephew or niece to come and take care of them because you need to go somewhere for an hour, or to work with them in doing some skill development. Maria feels very comfortable when her cousin comes to take care of her and work with her during the day. So it is just really I think it's a really win-win situation, but I'd really like to hear from the other participants to say, well, I'm waiting and I have concerns. So I'd really like to hear what are those concerns, to see if maybe, Cindy or I or someone else could help clarify those concerns, remedy them a bit so that you feel a little more confident about the program, because those concerns are basically based on questions that may not have been answered.
Carmen, one of the questions I took down, and it was Susan, I believe, was asking about how can the IF, the independent facilitator, help? How can the IF help me? Did you have any personal experience with that?
I almost asked the independent facilitator to do everything and anything that I don't want to do. So, if I need service agreements written up for staff, service agreements are like a duty statement. So I needed someone to work with Maria on brushing her teeth, putting on her underclothes, and washing her hair, things of that nature. So very specific. And then I also needed to have an individual that understands her needs and her challenges. So Anna, who is the independent facilitator, she knows Maria. She's known her from the past, which is why I chose her. She's an educator. So I have her write up the service agreements and ask her to assist in looking for people for me. So your independent facilitator can assist with that. And another thing that you're going to be hearing about the self-determination program is also, how much do you pay them? How much do you pay someone that you want to hire? Whether it's your cousin, whether it's a former teacher, or whatever that person is providing that services, how much do you pay them? And for me personally, I wanted quality versus the number of hours that I get. So I always based the hourly rate on, I would look at what they're currently receiving professionally, what's out there in the market, what they bring to the table specifically for Maria. And also just knowing Maria, so that was important to me, that I got quality staff for Maria that would work well with her. And I've had to dismiss a staff also, because sometimes you have to dismiss them because it just doesn't work. So you are like a little supervisor boss of a cohort of staff, so that, you know, you do have to do some managing, you know, on your own to make sure it's the right fit for your son or daughter. But I have the facilitator doing everything. You know, if I have conference calls with my FMS, I have her in there. With the budget, I have her in there. Any kind of, I do on my own, it's not required, but I do reports for my accountability. You know, so I have her doing those type of things, you know, because I want to see, is this program providing progress for my daughter? Is she improving in it? And so I like to measure those things. And so I have her do those type of reports. So it really, it ranges.
Mm-hmm. I was just curious, did you have like a one-page description created for Maria to hand out to potential employees?
I did. In fact, I don't know how to share screen, so I'm not going to try that. But what I did was just put, you know, I put a picture of her, and I said, "Hi, my name's Maria." Let me see, where is that?
Like a help wanted ad?
It was like, oh, horrible, but yes, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And you know, I was very truthful. Oh, here it is. I was very truthful, and I said, you know, I didn't want to sugarcoat anything, but you know, I'm 35 years old, Hispanic female, and her birth date. I live with my mom and my dog, and here, this is my phone number. And I told her that, you know, I said, you know, I have 3 doctors and a dentist, and gave information on that. And I also said, you know, I have seizures, I have cerebral palsy, I'm low vision, you know, I could do many things around my house. So it came from her, you know, it was her voice, and talked about what you know, she could do and what she can't do and what her needs are, you know. So it was like a help wanted, and actually I did put that on care.com and received several replies back, and hired 2 people from there.
Awesome.
Carmen, could I ask you just to clarify, because I think something that gets confusing is whether the IF is actually doing any of the work. I know you said she's helping with developing some of the contracts and budget negotiation, and helping you to hire people, but she's helping you to hire people who are then actually working with Maria. She's not actually doing work with Maria.
Oh, no, she doesn't work.
Correct.
No, and
Okay.
basically I give her a draft of what I want written. She polishes it up. She really does a lot of the admin work, but no, she's not allowed to work with Maria.
But she can help you to advertise and hire someone, you know, someone advertise in the community, help you with finding good people to work with Maria, but she's not actually doing the work.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
And she's more like an advocate also when we have meetings with our fiscal management service folks.
Do you mind if I ask where you found your independent facilitator?
Well, I was pretty lucky in the fact that Maria grew up with her, and she had just graduated from, she just received her teaching credential and got pregnant and wanted to stay home. So yay for me. So I grabbed her, and she was more than happy to do so because it's part-time. Yeah, and so she took the training, and you know, is on calls and so forth with us.
And how many hours a month do you think that you fund the independent facilitator?
Not very many. In the beginning, there's a chunk of hours, but it's not a lot. And now, when I started, Susan, it was brand new. People weren't even on board, so they didn't have a lot of templates here, and we were really trailblazing this thing at the time. So now I think that there are more fiscal management service folks out there that are doing a lot of the work for you. So I don't know, actually, I don't think that I'm a good person to say how many hours. I know that maybe 20 hours she spent, the 20 to 40 hours, I think, the first time that we started with her. And then since then, it's not very many at all, maybe an hour here, or 2 hours there a month, if that.
Thank you, Carmen.
Mhm. Susan, I'm curious, I was curious with your comments in the beginning. You're sort of on hold, you're not quite sure. And I had a friend who basically said the same thing to me when I first started. She was going to hold back. And so I was just wondering, what are those things that you're waiting for?
Well, so my son is kind of in transition. He's finishing a kind of a schooling program in May. And then I think we're going to look at what, where all sorts of things related to the adult system of care that we've never had before. Like, he wants to work. I mean, we haven't done an official person-centered plan, though my question about, why isn't it done in the traditional system is I think it should be, because all of these things for these, I'm going to say kids, but there are kids, they're not all kids.
Right, yeah.
They're adults, but I mean, should always be based on,
Absolutely.
what is, for them and what they want. And so, I think that he would like to be more independent, or as independent as he will be able to be. And that's both living and hopefully doing some kind of work. But I think he'll also need support. And so right now we don't have very many services. So I don't think we wouldn't have much of a budget. And I understand we could prove unmet needs, but we're just sort of moving in this direction. And I am a little fearful at, you kind of talked about, you've had to go out and hire people through care.com or those sorts of things. That's a little overwhelming to me to think about being that person. And I understand it could, there's no guarantee if an agency is hiring people, but then if they don't show up, hopefully they'll have a replacement person, or relatively quickly. It's those sorts of things that I just am not.
I think now the FMS, I've heard that some FMSs will hire for you. I'm not confident on that, but I'm such a control freak with this, is that I wanted to make sure that the right person came in, that met the needs. And I just didn't know if a second party would really understand, all the issues Maria had, and to make it the environment that she would achieve and be successful. But yeah, and the other thing is, Susan, don't forget, is that you could have all that. You could have your traditional program, and things that the traditional program, there's gaps in that, because they do a great job. We need to acknowledge that they do a fantastic job, but there are resource limitations there, and they can't provide that one-on-one. But with the self-determination program, you can have that. So, Maria goes to program 3 days a week. She does independent self-determination program the other 2 days plus on Saturdays.
And so the question that I have for probably the Alta people is, if we don't do this in June when we're then able to join, will it be open to start at any point, or do we miss out on an opportunity?
The only time there are any sort of restrictions to entry into the self-determination service delivery model is if someone is in the self-determination program and elects to leave, then they have to wait a year for re-entry. Other than that, it's available anytime after the date that it becomes available to everyone. And it can honestly almost be like a revolving door. Ideally, you'd find a system that works and fits for the needs. But there is the ability to kind of come and go if it doesn't work out. The traditional model is always the safety net, if you will.
Mm-hmm. And then one other question, and I don't mean to be the hogging of so I hope other people are benefiting from this, but in the pilot program, there was some funding for a PCP, if I understood correctly. Is that going to continue or that's gone away?
That's Susan. You are right. In the pilot program or the rollout, the first 2,500, there was a reimbursement, or not, excuse me, there was funding available for the Regional Center to fund person-centered planning up to $2,500 total for the plan. We just reached out to the Department of Developmental Services last week to get clarification on, is this $2,500 going to be available when the program is available to everybody? And they don't know yet.
Okay.
So we're crossing our fingers that yes, it will be. I hope it will be, but we don't have a solid answer today. I really wanted that answer for today's meetings and disappointed we didn't get it, but we did ask the question, and you know, we're going to have to know soon because June is right around the corner. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it
Yes.
seems like if it was an important part of the self-determination program in the pilot, it doesn't make sense to me why it wouldn't continue, but there's always reasons and financial reasons.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I understand. Absolutely.
Hi, Susan. So you mentioned that your son was interested in employment.
Yes.
I'd just like to share that the Regional Center offers a paid internship program where we can pay for the wages up to $10,400, and the $10,400 does not need to be included in the budget for the self-determination program.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And is that an annual thing, Cindy?
It is an annual thing,
Can
but the hope is that the individual is going to get hired on once they complete
Absolutely.
the internship. Yes.
Okay, absolutely.
And Susan, as long as we're picking on you, hearing that you have a school-age child with an interest in employment, Department of Rehab expanded their service delivery to include what they're calling potentially eligible services. In order to qualify, a candidate has to have an IEP. So just want to make sure you're aware of that, and that could be a kind of a foot in the door, a beginning process for planning at this stage while your child's still in school to begin accessing that world of employment.
Yeah, he's actually 19, so he's out of school now, and he is a consumer with Department of Rehab.
Okay.
And we've just started to work with them as he is interested in finding something. So that's a good thing. Generic services, right?
Right.
Can I just address your question a little bit, Susan, since while we're all picking on Susan here, because you put another question
And
in
I
the
just hope it's helping. I hope it's helping others.
Oh, of course. You put a follow-up question in the chat about paying for the traditional services and having the agency fee built in to that. And that's where all of the negotiation comes in. You can negotiate with the program. Maybe they have a daily rate. Maybe they have a daily rate for usually 5 days a week, but actually maybe your son only wants to go 3 days a week. And so you have some flexibility. You have those other 2 days to negotiate, doing something else, some other supports where you hire someone one-to-one. You could possibly negotiate with the program about, he only wants to come in the mornings, or you could negotiate and say, this is how much we can afford from our self-determination budget. Are you willing to serve him? He only wants to take a photography class and a writing class. Is that, are you able to serve him and have him just participate in those classes? Those are consistent with his employment goals. So there's a lot of negotiation. So it's not one or the other. and it's not that you have to go full-time into traditional services. So there's still some wiggle room and some way to meld the two. He might have a adult program, employment training or independent living skills training that is great for him, but and so he could participate in that, but maybe not full-time. So you can supplement with other ways to be more individualized with him, but it's not a one or the other. And it's not, doesn't mean you have to go full-time and pay exactly what the agency fee is. There's some wiggle room there, and some of the programs are going to be more flexible about negotiating, and some might say, no, this is what we have to charge.
Mm-hmm. And so you're talking about the vendored programs. Okay, that's interesting. I hadn't heard of that. Thank you.
Mhm.
It's still pretty new to a lot of programs. So if you called a program and said something right now, a lot of them haven't come up with policies. They haven't come up with flexibility. They're still learning about self-determination. This is why we're all learning together. And that's why we had 3 years to kind of work on this. But there's still going to be a lot of learning and a lot of changes that happen over the next 2 or 3 years. And a program that might right now say, whoa, we're not even going to deal with self-determination. In 6 months, they might be.
Mhm.
Does Jaywan, Bethany, or Cynthia do you have any concerns or issues regarding the self-determination program?
Does the SDP has any budget limited, and who's gonna judge and make a decision to give a budget?
So the budget for the individual is based on the prior 12 months expenditures. And if they're new to the regional center or don't have 12 months worth of prior expenditures, it would be a prorated calculation. There are 2 allowances for alterations to the budget that would come from unmet needs or changes in circumstances. So maybe there needs that exist currently that are built into the IPP, maybe even have authorizations for, but providers aren't delivering the service. So it's not getting billed against, it's not getting paid on. That would be an unmet need. Changes in circumstances, Susan talked about transition, someone school age whose needs are being met through the generic resource of the school district, who's exiting that and entering the life of adulthood would certainly have changes in circumstances. They're now going to have these needs, these support needs around what they want to do with their time during the day to be active, productive, contributing members of society. Like Carmen's daughter, Maria, got herself a job, but probably with some support. So that would be a change in circumstance, someone leaving the school district. Injuries, changes in medical conditions, things of that nature. I think one of the DDS videos, one of the participants in a pilot talked about having sustained an injury, maybe like a broken leg or something that she was frightened was going to just devastate and destroy her life, but they were able to modify the budget to get her support needs in place. There are also allowances for money to sort of be shifted around from one need to another. Carmen gave some great examples of that as far as being flexible with goals related to education and thinking we're going to be on campus at AR, but having to find other educational opportunities that still fit within that description.
So can I ask one more question about the service provider as independent facilitator? It looked to me in orientation like your IF could be, or that function could be done by your service coordinator. Is that accurate? And what would that look like?
That might not look too different than how your relationship is presently with your service coordinator, developing an IPP, sharing information about needs of your family member, the person-centered planning process that's already sort of built into the IPP. our service coordinators would be limited to some extent by the hours that exist in their work week, getting out there and pounding the pavement to find providers of services that don't yet exist, versus, you know, doing a Google search for a piano teacher. There are going to be some limitations as to what the service coordinator can do, but they can act as the independent facilitator. They can be requested to be the independent facilitator. And we do have staff, Jen mentioned in our session this morning, each case management unit has 2 service coordinators as designated SDP service coordinators. So they've got a little more familiarity and understanding of the program, and have clients on their cases. So for instance, Maria Delgado's service coordinator would be one of our SDP designated service coordinators. But sounds like Carmen elected to find outside independent facilitator. So.
There is also a list of trained independent facilitators that is out there as a resource. And for me personally, I opted to hire my own independent facilitator who knew Maria and have her, she had to take an independent facilitator training. So she took that training course that they take. And the reason is because our Alta coordinator, she currently has her caseload, and then to do a new program would have been very taxing on her. So I took that into consideration. And then mostly is that if I hired the independent facilitator, I negotiated a rate with that person. She's on my dime, she's on our time, and you know the response is quicker, and you could set, I need X, Y, and Z by this time. And so that's a whole different type of I think relationship. And you know, I just felt that the Alta staff has already have an existing heavy caseload, and then to learn a new program and to go out and look for things, I thought might have been too burdensome. So, you know, I opted to hire my own independent facilitator. And since this past year, I know that there are many more independent facilitators out there.
Thank you so much, Carmen. I just wanted to add a couple things. One is that we're going to have one of these sessions all about independent facilitators. So I'm looking forward to that. Sonia mentioned in the chat that there's going to be some ongoing sessions around the budget and the spending plan and the financial management services agency. So if you're able to attend those or watch one of the recordings, I think that would be really helpful too. Even though this is not the independent facilitator session, I did want to add that the independent facilitator does not need to be a paid position. I'm sure there's benefits to having someone as a paid independent facilitator, but that independent facilitator fee or the cost of the independent facilitator comes from your budget. So it's just a consideration. If you had someone who wanted to volunteer to be your independent facilitator, that's available too. So I just wanted to put that out there, that some may choose to hire someone, and some parents may decide they want to do it themselves or ask for someone to help them on a volunteer basis.
And again, that's the beauty of this whole program. You
Exactly.
can do what you want to do. You're not restricted.
I was typing in a question, but I think I'll say it since there's some silence right now. I was going to say to everyone, so pretend that everyone on the call knows very little about self-determination, right? So they wanted to get started with their person-centered plan. What advice would you give them?
That's a great question. I think I'll let Cindy and maybe Carmen answer that, since they're our experts of the night.
So if you would like to know which provider in the area offers person-centered thinking training, you can go to the Learning Center community to get more information, but we do have some service providers in the area that offers the training. Some offers it for free, some will have a fee, some will offer you a certificate of completion once you complete all of the trainings. It used to be 2 full days, but now because of Zoom and we're living in a virtual world, they broke up the sessions into maybe 4 or 5 different ones. Sonia has a lot of resources and information from different areas of people offering the person-centered thinking training. So if you haven't gone to one of those trainings, I would highly encourage you to find out when the next training is and participate in one, but also reach out to the service coordinator, because sometimes, they may have some information and they might be able to guide you as far as the next steps in, that you may need to have in order for you to participate in the self-determination program. So just like Herman and Jennifer mentioned, there are 2 service coordinators in each unit that specializes in self-determination. So someone at the regional center should be able to assist you. And then we're going to put some of the tools online as well as a blank person-centered plan template on there, so you can start utilizing some of the tools to gather information about your son or daughter, so to help you create a 1-page description that you can share with anyone that is going to be supporting your son or daughter. And then Carmen, do you have anything else to add? You coming from a parent perspective?
Yeah, well, I didn't take no person-centered training. That's not a requirement, is it?
It is not.
Oh, okay. Just, yeah, I didn't think so. All right, I'm going, oh, I already messed up. So,
right at the beginning, Carmen, I said it is not a requirement.
Okay, thank you. I missed it. I'm already panicking. I guess for me, it was intuitive. A lot of this stuff is intuitive. These tools are great and they give you, oh, okay, this is what they're looking for and so forth. But a lot of this is really intuitive, and your child knows what they like and what they don't like, and what their goals are. Like Susan, your son wants to, get a job. He wants to make a contribution to his community, and so what are those steps that he needs to take? Maybe he can't get out of the door. Okay, so let's teach him how to get out of the door first. So a lot of the things I think are just, there's a lot of templates that are good to guide you through this process, but don't, for my advice is don't get overwhelmed with those things. Come from your heart, come from your mind, from what you know and what's best for your child, so that he or she grows and becomes an independent person, someone included in the community that's welcome because he is a participant in your community. That's my person-centered plan.
I've taken several classes for person-centered thinking, but I'm asking the question just in case there's someone else who may not even know the first step or what to do, or maybe guide to ask. The second thing, well, it was a follow-up to what Cindy was saying, which I know you kind of went back and said that it's not a requirement. I was going to say, well, what if I don't have any time to do one of those trainings? So I do think that the templates would be a good idea. However, I haven't seen any outside of the trainings that I've taken. So my concern is for parents who may not have time to do a specific person-centered thinking training or a PCP training. Where would I point, what direction would I point them in? And I know that you said that you're going to have that up on your website soon. And maybe the question is, can I get an ETA on when that would be up, maybe, so that I can kind of send them to this resource so that they're not confused. And just for the record, we all know our kids, or, and what they need, but sometimes it may be difficult for people to kind of sit down and put that in writing. And, you know, I know that a
Absolutely.
lot of what Cindy said was the important two and important four. And I know there's the donut method and the one-page description. And there's so many different techniques that you learn in the PCT training that in and of itself may be a little overwhelming for parents. So yeah, that's the one big takeaway I think I kind of want, which is the one-step simplified version of starting the one-page description, maybe.
And I think
Kadada,
maybe one of the reasons
yeah,
for a
go ahead.
lot of those templates is because, you know, not one template or two templates is going to work for everyone. So again, it gives you an array of things to look at. And you're going to find one that, this works for us. And you may take a little of each of them. So whatever works for you, you know, best, you know, that's the one that's for you.
Kadada, you can literally Google person-centered plan template and find a million things on the internet, and from the United States, from the UK, from Australia. There's plans over the world, and I totally agree with Carmen that it's good to look at them, and some of them are just going to be like focusing on a lot of stuff that's not relevant to you, your loved one, and others you're gonna be like, yeah, this kind of fits the best and feels the has the best questions and the best format. So there's not one size fits all, and that's what I love about self-determination, is that aside from the whole program, for person-centered plan, it's not prescriptive in exactly what it looks, and so it is going to be up to the parent or the individual to choose what they want, whether it's 1,000 pieces of paper or a PowerPoint like Gina's working on, or a one-pager, or maybe even a sculpture, like this is me in a sculpture. Let's talk about it. So I love that creativity. Carmen, if I can just say something, remembering back almost a year ago, when you came to the Self-Determination Advisory Committee and you talked about your experience getting through the process, because you were the first one. And one thing that you said that just really stuck with me was that you came forward with your person-centered plan for your daughter that you thought was, you know, here it is. You worked really hard on it. You did it by yourself. You didn't have training and so resources. And what happened was you got feedback that this was really more about your thoughts for your daughter than about her thoughts about her own needs and her goals. And so you went back again and you kind of reworked it with her, I'm sure consulting with her and touching back with her about her goals, and then came back again to the regional center to work on developing the IPP. But I love that story, you know, about just, you know, remember, it's not about the parents sitting down and writing it all down. It's a process together with the team, like Cindy said, and with all those people who know the individual the best, and getting at what's important to, what's important for them. But it's not just the parents sitting down and writing it all down because they know best, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Sonia, because, you know, one of the tools that you could use to identify the people in the circle of support is also identify the roles that they can play in this person's life. So, you know, you don't have to have just several people who makes all the major decisions. You know, you can specify, okay, you know, this is the area that you can help this person with, but that's it. You leave the other responsibilities and other types of support to someone else who has the expertise in that area to do so. So that's really what's nice about it too.
Yeah, I think it's just, it's a different mindset. It's a different way of thinking about things, how we normally have done the IPPs with Alta, you know, and here's a menu of programs that you have. This is, you know, your goals, you know. It's now the client who's doing that, the consumer. It's my daughter doing that. And that support system, thank you for bringing it up, is so important because, you know, I reached out to our support system, which is our family, you know, and I had them weigh in also and talk with Maria on what she likes to do, or what, you know, they thought her strengths were in developing her plan.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we are at a quarter past the hour. We were scheduled to go till 6, so I think that was some good discussion and hopefully helpful for those that got to hear questions from others. We hope you'll come back and join us again for the upcoming sessions. And one other reminder and plug I like to put in is if you haven't already signed up to receive notifications from the Regional Center, our website has a link at the bottom where you can put in your information and identify yourself as being interested in self-determination program information. Oh yeah, and Sonia suggests share the word with others. Tell your friends that you connect with to come check these out.
And Jennifer, if you want to post my phone number and email, I'm more than happy to answer any questions or experiences that I've had with the participants online.
Absolutely. Thank you, Carmen.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, everyone. This was great.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right, well, we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so
Later.